Apologies to Matt Damon. He had a baby today, so it really was the wrong thing to do to bump him, but we had to.
Unfortunately, we are totally out of time.
The rules of live television are pretty strict, but when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel Live, anything goes. Jimmy Kimmel has a few strict guidelines for his audience, crew, and celebrity guests to follow. You'll never guess which big TV no-no Jimmy himself committed that cost the show almost $400,000.
Whoa. What the hell is this?
Be prepared for things to get mean. Twitter is a great way for celebrities to connect with their fans, but even the most glamorous stars can't escape the verbal jabs of internet trolls. In Jimmy Kimmel's Celebrities Read Mean Tweets segments, stars are required to read unkind tweets about themselves on camera. While it's definitely a fan favorite, it's not exactly fun for the celebrities. Just look at Kim Kardashian's face when she reads this mean tweet. You can tell that one stung a little bit. And check out the mean tweet Billie Eilish had to read about herself.
So they gave her what they had in the lost and found bin.
Ouch. Pre-interview interview. When you're watching Jimmy Kimmel Live, you may think that all of the conversations he has with celebrity guests are spontaneous, but that's not entirely true. Before going on the show, celebrity guests must do what is called a pre-interview. That means a producer calls them a few days ahead of their scheduled appearance to figure out what they're going to talk about on the air with Jimmy. Producers go over potential topics such as current events, funny stories, or important news. So when Jimmy interviewed Kim, Kourtney, and Khloe Kardashian about their family trip to Vegas, you can bet that was discussed in their pre-interview before they went on the show. Jimmy picks the topics. After producers do the pre-interview, they come to Jimmy with a list of potential topics for him to discuss with his celebrity guest. If you thought the celebrity got to pick what they're talking about, you'd be wrong. It's actually up to Jimmy which of those pre-interview topics gets picked for their on-camera interview. When the guest arrives on set, the producer escorts them to their dressing room and informs them what Jimmy has decided to discuss. So, when Jimmy interviewed Jennifer Lopez on how she learned those dancing skills she showed off at the Super Bowl halftime show, that was all pre-planned. Don't use that tone. When Jimmy Kimmel did a sketch about getting emergency alerts on your phone, he probably didn't expect to have to pay an enormous fine, but that's what happened. In the sketch, a family hears an alert on their phone. They overreact and freak out over the alert, making for a hilarious sketch. The Federal Communications Commissions heard that the show broadcasted the actual emergency alert tone for the sketch and cracked down hard. They fined ABC $395,000 for using that tone when there was no emergency and made them remove the tone from the sketch. ABC complied, saying it was a total misunderstanding. Set aside time. If you're an audience member attending the taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live, it's best to clear your schedule for the day. On the Jimmy Kimmel Ticket website, they share guidelines for audience members. According to the site, tapings usually last approximately 2 hours. Audience members should also allow time for check-in, seating, and the audience warm-up. They're expected to be there for at least 3.5 hours from the call time on their ticket to the end of taping. Additionally, audience ticket holders are asked to arrive at least 30 to 45 minutes early, as the show may have given out more tickets than there are available seats. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. No dangerous joke videos. YouTube has placed some strict guidelines in place that has Jimmy Kimmel shaking his head. Jimmy Kimmel Live masterminded the YouTube pranks. Hey Jimmy, I gave my kids a terrible Christmas present, and I told my kids I ate all their Halloween candy. But YouTube updated its rules, adding a Dangerous Challenges and Pranks Enforcement update. This update states that while YouTube is home to many beloved viral challenges, they have policies in place to make sure what's funny doesn't cross the line into being harmful or dangerous. One of the 3 specific types of content that is now prohibited is videos of pranks that cause emotional distress to children. And while those Jimmy Kimmel Halloween and Christmas present pranks make people laugh, they also definitely caused emotional distress to children.
The zoo fence challenge. People jump over the fence at the zoo and they get in with the animals.
Pepsi? No way. Jimmy Kimmel is a star and all stars have their preferences, so it's not completely outrageous that Jimmy refuses to drink Pepsi products, and he will not be convinced to change his mind, not even by a $250,000 paycheck. That's right, Jimmy Kimmel once turned down a $250,000 deal to do a Pepsi commercial. It was back when he hosted The Man Show. Apparently, he just loved Coca-Cola too much to endorse its competitor. He said he'd never drink Pepsi in a million years. No drinks, sort of. Due to a mishap that happened a while back, ABC has officially done away with its liquor license. Apparently, executives made this decision after a very intoxicated audience member almost tossed her cookies on a high-level Disney exec during a taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Since then, you'd be hard-pressed to find an alcoholic beverage on set unless you visit the VIP green room with drink tickets. No unaccompanied minors. This rule actually states that no minors at all are allowed in the studio for Jimmy Kimmel Live. After all, it is a late-night talk show, which means it's not appropriate for audiences of all ages. That's why ABC has a strict rule that prohibits anyone under the age of 18 years old from attending the show as an audience member. The one exception to this rule is outdoor performances. The minimum age for outdoor performances is 16 years old. Otherwise, if you can't prove you're 18 at the door, you'll be sent away, no matter if you're accompanied by a parent or guardian. Let's take this outside. While most of Jimmy Kimmel's show is taped inside their Hollywood Boulevard studio, they sometimes venture outside for on-the-street interviews or the occasional concert. For example, check out this BTS concert outside the studio. Fans didn't even care whether they were inside the studio or not. When BTS comes to perform, fans don't mind standing outside for the show. Jimmy Kimmel, vampire in disguise. After spending too many 14-hour days in a basement when Jimmy Kimmel Live first debuted in 2003, Jimmy has one humble request. He now asks that his office has a window so he can get a little bit of that California sunshine. Back in those basement days, Kimmel said he used to look like a vampire because of his long workdays without windows or exposure to the sun. Add that to his dark hair and features and you've got another Twilight movie character in the making. It only makes sense that this Hollywood late-night talk show host should benefit from the gorgeous Los Angeles weather during his long days at the office. Parking will cost you. Unless you're a celebrity guest with a car service, you better be ready to drop some serious dough on parking if you're coming to see Jimmy Kimmel Live. Guys, parking on Hollywood Boulevard is no joke. If you want to drive yourself to a taping of the show, be ready to dish out at least $30 just to park your car near the studio. Sure, you could try to scout out a parking meter, but they are hard to find, and most of them have time limits. Remember the time commitment we mentioned earlier? You can't exactly cut out of the line to go feed the meter. If you're coming to Jimmy Kimmel Live, be ready to pay a lot for parking. Get your kids involved. Just because kids aren't allowed at the taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live doesn't mean they should be left out altogether. Jimmy has been involving youngsters in his programming for years. One of his more noteworthy segments featuring kids is the famous YouTube prank in which parents trick their kids into thinking they ate all of their Halloween candy. Of course, YouTube has cracked down on that sort of thing, but Jimmy still has fun with the youngsters. He does an adorable bit called Jimmy Kimmel Lie Detective, in which he tricks kids into thinking that colander on their head can detect lies. Those kids reveal some fascinatingly funny stuff. Jimmy Feet World. In most workplaces, shoes are a required part of the dress code, but that doesn't apply to Jimmy Kimmel. This dude takes the term business casual to a whole new level. Don't get caught lying. We know from Jimmy's work with kids on The Lie Detective that he doesn't tolerate lies. If that's true for kids, it's even more true for adults. That's why he takes to the streets to catch pedestrians in lies in his segment, Lie Witness News. One major rule on the streets of Hollywood is, if you lie, be prepared to get busted by Jimmy Kimmel. Prime example, the time he busted people lying about watching the Oscars when they hadn't even happened yet. Some people will say just about anything, and the Oscar for Best Acting goes to Amazon Junkie. If you work for Jimmy Kimmel, get ready to receive a lot of Amazon packages. That's because Jimmy Kimmel is obsessed with shopping on Amazon. He claims, "No item is too small for me to buy on Amazon." Jimmy's favorite item to purchase is cookbooks. In fact, he has over 1,000 cookbooks. But he also buys cooking supplies and gifts. He loves getting gifts for his closest friends, including Carson Daly, who claims Jimmy bought him his first barbecue. No Matt Damon. Anyone who follows Jimmy Kimmel knows about his deep and long-standing feud with Matt Damon. Who knows when it started? It doesn't seem to matter to Jimmy or Matt. All that matters is that Jimmy takes every opportunity he can to torture, tease, and torment Matt Damon on the show. In fact, Jimmy has a strict rule that Matt Damon is only allowed on the show if the jokes are all at Matt's expense. This joke has been running for so long, fans don't even care what started it all. They just enjoy watching them mess with each other on the show. Is it real? If you're a Jimmy Kimmel fan, chances are you've been tricked once or twice before. That's because at any given moment, a very elaborate hoax could be played on the audience and viewers at home. Don't believe us? Check out the time Jimmy Kimmel exposed Joaquin Phoenix for his behavior on the set of Joker.
This is so embarrassing.
While it's not clear whether Jimmy was playing a trick on the audience, the odds are pretty good that he was. He's a well-known prankster. Just look at his history of pranks with his neighbor John Krasinski. Whether it's real or not, Jimmy has one cardinal rule he always follows: make sure the audience has a great time. Which rule for Jimmy Kimmel Live surprised you the most? Would you want to work with Jimmy Kimmel now that you know some of these things? Let us know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching The Taco, and we'll see you again soon.